transaction of the products. So I'm going to talk to you about different type of documentations which are usually used in the international marketing. So the first point which I am going to talk about is the marine policy. Marine insurance policy is intended to protect the insured against the risk of loss or damage to goods in transit due to marine perils. That means they are saying when we are sending the goods with the help of the ships, and in that situation there is an insurance policy which is known as marine insurance policy, and this is done by each and every exporter or the importer. They have to insure the goods which they are sending to the importer. Why? Because in case of transaction of the goods, if something goes wrong, maybe if goods in transit, so that loss or the damage of the goods can be taken care by the marine insurance policy. So this insurance policy or the certificate, this cover all the risk which may occur during the transportation of goods from one place to another place, that means from one country to another country. And it usually happens that maybe sometime because of the bad weather or because of the high tides or because of any other thing, this is usually seen that the things become so complicated or the goods are damaged which are on the floor of the ship. So at that time, the exporter can always ask for the claim from the insurance policy, and these insurance policies are in a position to give the uh, money back to the insurer. So it is very, very important, or it is very important part of any export or import business to do the marine insurance, because if you are not doing this thing, then maybe it is going to be a big problem for the either exporter or importer, because this is the thing which can be easily, making you in the form of the losses, and maybe it will help in other aspects also, or maybe you will find out that it is not difficult, or maybe you will find out that it is really complicated to go for these things. So it is always said that marine insurance policy or the certificate is required whenever there is a transportation or transaction of goods from one country to another country. So, in short, we can say marine insurance is basically intended to protect the insured against the risk of loss or damage during the transportation of the goods due to marine perils. Marine perils means due to some problems while the goods are transported from one place to another, as I have told you just now. Then, what is the insurance policy? As I have discussed just now with you regarding the marine insurance policy, now I am going to talk to you about the insurance policy. Marine insurance policy is a contract whereby the insurer, in consideration of a payment of the premium by the insured, agrees to indemnify the latter against the loss incurred in respect of goods exposed to peril of sea and incidental to sea voyage. That means they are saying that marine insurance policy or the insurance policy is a contract whereby the insurer, that means the person who insured the goods, in consideration of the payment of premium by the insured, that means the person who is insuring the goods, he is going to pay the premium, agree to indemnify the latter, that means they agree on indemnify the paper which said that in case of any loss occurred in respect of goods exposed to peril of the seas and the incidental to sea voyage, it can be taken care by the insurance policy, but the premium is going to paid by the insurer. So please try to understand this thing. I have said that marine insurance policy is related with the goods which are transporting from one country to another country by sea. And in case if something goes wrong while the transportation of the goods, the money can be taken by the insurer from the insurance policy. Then they are saying that the consideration of a payment of the premium by insured, that means the person who is agreeing for the insurance, they identify to the letter that okay, in case of any loss or in case of any goods exposed to the sea peril or incidental to sea voyage, they are going to pay for the damage things. So this is marine insurance policy. Then what is insurance certificate? This is another point which is going to be highlighted in this. It gives the detail of the shipment insured together with a shortened version of the provision of open cover. That means that insurance certificate is the details of the shipment. That means the products which you are shipping, and they are insured together with a shortened version of the provision of open cover. That means in some situation the things are opened, kept on the sea so that it can be transported. So both the things are covered together and all the details are given in this insurance certificate. It is a more convenient document than a policy and more easily intelligible. That means they are saying that insurance certificate is basically more convenient document than the policy because this contains the details of all the things which you are insured. It does not have legal standing, cannot be assigned. That means that insurance certificate is not a legal document and it cannot be assigned to either insurer or the insured people. So it is said that it is the simplest way or insurance certificate, but it has no legal standing. That means in case something goes wrong, then you are not going to get the whole amount of money which you have insured for. Then certificate of origin. What is this certificate of origin? This is another document which is required when you are going for any export or import business. So here the certificate of origin is required by the importer for clearance of the goods in his country. That means that the moment the good arrives at the destination, so at that time the importer who is going to take the goods, they need this certificate of origin for the clearance of goods in his country. That means that that certificate of origin is required at the time of clearance of the goods. Why? Because this indicates that these goods are manufactured in a particular country and it is transferred from that country to this country for the importer for sending the goods to the consumers or selling the goods to the consumer in different manner. So certificate of origin is one of the important point that it is required when you are clearing the goods. Then it is also required for taking advantage of preferential tariffs granted to exports from India in a particular country. They are saying that certificate origin have one more advantage. What is that? You can take the advantage of this certificate of origin regarding the preferential tariffs are concerned, which are granted to exporters from India in a particular country. That means from India, if you are selling some goods to some other country where Indian government has put up some incentives to the exporters which say that okay, we are giving some fixed amount of tariff, you have to pay only those tariff, not more than that. So in that situation, we require certificate of origin so that we can identify that okay, these goods are from India and we need some preferential tariffs which is granted for the export of goods. Then these are obtainable from a recognized Chamber of Commerce, Export Promotion Council on payment of a small fees. That means when you are going to take this certificate of origin or make certificate origin, this can only be taken either by the Chamber of Commerce, which is the recognized body, then the Export Promotion Council of that particular country. As we can say that India, it is Export Promotion Council of India. Maybe in other country, it is said Export Promotion Council of a particular country. And for this, we are paying a little amount of fees for that. That means when we are requiring the certificate of origin from either from the Chamber of Commerce or from the Export Promotion Council of India, we have to pay a certain amount of fees, which is very negligible, so that at least you will get the certificate of origin, which can helpful in the clearance of the products by the importer as well as the exporter can take advantage of the preferential tariffs also. Then there are generalized system of preferences certificates. That means which is known as GSP, generalized system of preferences certificate. This may find out in many developed countries who adopt the GSP system, that is Generalized System of Preferences certificate. Exporters from developing countries, including India, are entitled to a concessional rate of import duty in these countries. That means there are number of countries who are recognizing this generalized system of preferences. Why? Because most of the developing countries, they are taking the advantage of this generalized system of preferences. Why? Because exporters from the developing countries, let's take example of India, they are entitled for a concessional rate of import duties in these countries. That means that when they are selling the goods, they are getting a concession regarding the import duties are concerned. So that is very good thing for the importers who are bringing the goods from outside, and specifically with those particular countries who comes under this generalized system of preferences. That means mainly the developed countries. So in that situation, there are some concessional rates which are given to the exporter, who can use these concessional rates of import duties for getting their products. Then it is usually issued by the Export Inspection Agency. So they are saying that this generalized system of preferences are usually issued by the Export Inspection Agency. So if we talk about the generalized system of preferences, it can say that all the developed countries, they are using this generalized system of preferences, and in this they are getting some sort of concessional rate of import duty in different countries. So this is an advantage of the exporters or the importers to go for this generalized system of preferences, and this will help them out in getting the concession in that. Then bill of exchange. What is this bill of exchange? It is also known as draft. If somebody asks you in international marketing or trade that what do you mean by draft, that means that person is asking you about the bill of exchange. So it is an instrument in writing containing an unconditional order signed by the maker, directing a certain person to pay a certain sum of money only to or to the order of a person or to the bearer of the instrument. They are saying that bill of exchange means that it is an instrument in writing which is containing the unconditional order. That means it is an unconditional order which is in writing, and it is signed by the maker directly a certain person to pay. That means it is signed by the maker, that the manufacturer, and it is directing a certain person to pay the amount only to or to the order of of a person or to the bearer of the instrument. That means the person who is bearing that instrument has to pay the money, or it is an unconditional order which is signed by the maker and directing the certain person to pay a certain amount of money only to or to the order of a person. That means to whom the order is given, they have to pay that money. It is a site draft or usance draft. It is also known as site draft or usance draft. There is no standard format for bill of exchange. That means they are saying that there is no specific bill of exchange which is uh, finalized by the Export Promotion Council of India or maybe from the Chamber of Commerce. But it is a unconditional draft. Please remember this thing. If somebody asks you what is bill of exchange, that means it is an unconditional draft in writing containing an unconditional order signed by the maker and directing a certain person to pay a certain amount of money. This is bill of exchange. It is known as site draft or it is known as USIN draft also. And there is no standard format for this bill of exchange. Then what is shipment advice? As I am talking to you about the products which are shipped from one country to another country, there is another document which are very much in use which is known as shipment advice. It is sent by exporter to importer, intimating the date of shipment of consignment by a named vessel and its ETA at the destination port. Shipment advice contains few things which is sent by the exporter to the importer. and intimating the date of the shipment, that on which particular date they have shipped the goods, and the name of the vessel, with which vessel they have shipped the goods, and the destination port also. That means that they are giving the information to the importers, which says on which particular date it is shipped. Regarding the consignment is concerned, then they have to put up the name of the vessel, and they have to put up the port of destination also, that at which particular port it is going to receive by the importer. That shipment advice is sent in the prescribed format along with the following documents. They are saying that shipment advice is sent in a particular prescribed format along with the following documents. Number one is non-negotiable copy of the B/L. This is one format. Then commercial invoice, as I have talked about the commercial invoice. Then the packing list and the custom invoice. That means whenever the shipment advice is going, it contains these things, which is non-negotiable copy, B/L, then commercial invoice, then packing list, and then custom invoices. So these are the things which we have to put up in the shipment advice when we are sending those shipment advice to the importers. Then auxiliary documents. As we have discussed that in the commercial documentation, there is one part which we are using it, which is known as auxiliary document. There are 7 auxiliary documents which are taken care by the exporter or importers when they are transferring the goods from one country to another. Number one is pro forma invoice, which says the details of the goods, the number of the items, amount, then the destination, etc. Then intimation for inspection. In this auxiliary documentation, there is one documentation which is known as the intimation for inspection. That means that we have to give the intimation before we are shipping the goods for the inspection. So this is another document. Then shipping instruction. Then what are the specific shipping instruction we are going to give? I'll give you one example. Suppose we have purchased one item which is breakable. So what we are usually put up there, we are just putting up, please keep this particular product in the standing mode and do not shake the particular product, otherwise it will break. So these are the points which we have to incorporate into that when we are shipping the products. Then insurance declaration, we have to give the declaration regarding the insurance that the goods which are going to be shipped are insured by the exporters. Then application for certificate of origin. Then we have to give a application in auxiliary documents which are related with the certificate of origin. Then mate's receipt. Mate receipt means that there is a receipt which are taken by the uh, master of the ship, and this is the receipt. He will get it signed and give one copy back to the exporter, which says that okay, we have received these goods and we are responsible for transporting these goods from one place to another place. Then letter to the bank for collection negotiation of document. This is another very important point in international marketing or business. When we are transporting the goods from one country to another country, maybe by ship or maybe by road, in that situation, whatever the documents we are putting up in the bank, so that what will happen, this is what it is said, that we have transported the goods, we have informed the importer about the goods, port, etc., then name of the vessels and everything, but we are keeping this document with the bank. Why we are keeping this in the bank? The moment the product arrive at a destination port, the information is giving to the importer that your products have arrived. Now what you have to do is you have to go to the bank, clear the payment and take the documents, so that you can put up the documents in front of the custom authorities at the port site, where you can easily release your products from there. So this is the thing which we have to take into consideration when we are talking about the auxiliary document. So please remember, there are 7 documents which are usually put up in auxiliary, Number one is performa invoice. Number two is intimation for inspection, shipping instructions, insurance declaration, application for certificate of origin, maid's receipt, letter to bank of collection, and the negotiation of documentations, etc. Then, what are the regulatory documents? As we have discussed this thing, that regulatory documents are the documents which are very much used in the export and import businesses when we are shipping the products from one place to another. So there are 7 regulatory documents associated with the pre-shipment stage of the export transaction. That means when we are sending the goods with the help of the ships, before sending the goods, there are few regulatory documents which are taken into care. Number one is AR form. This is for Central Excise. Either it is known as ARE1 form or AR4 form, which is given to the Central Excise. Then second is for the custom, which is known as shipping bill or bill of export. Then third is port trust copy of shipping bill, export application and dock challan. These are handed over to the port authorities, where you have to give the shipping bill, where you have to give the export application, where you have to give the dock challan. Then vehicle ticket. Vehicle ticket means that at the port, which type of vehicle are coming and who are going to unload the goods to load on the ships. That is known as the vehicle tickets. Then apart from that, they are having exchange control declaration, which is known as GR or PP forms. This is basically for Reserve Bank of India, because whenever we are selling the goods, automatically foreign exchange are going to be involved into that. And when the foreign exchange are going to be involved, automatically Reserve Bank of India is also going to be involved into that. This is for India, but maybe for other countries also there are the same type of central banks who are responsible for all these declaration. So in the exchange control board declaration forms, you have to give all the details about the products which you are selling to the foreign country, then the amount of the goods, and then the units of the goods, that what are the amount and what are the units which are going to be sold to the foreign country. So this information you have to give to the RBI, so that RBI can understand that okay, how much goods you are selling and how much return you are going to get from that. Then freight payment certificate. These are given to the steamer agents. That means the agents who are at the dock, and whatever the freights we have to pay, it is a freight payment certificate which we have to give to the steamer agents, who can certify that okay, the freight for these particular goods have been already paid by the exporter or the importers. Then next is the, under the regulatory document, is known as the insurance premium payment certificate. This is issued by the insurance company. This is known as insurance premium payment certificate, that the moment you pay the insurance, you will get a certificate from the insurance company which says that okay, we have insured this good for this much of money, and the number of quantity of these particular products are this much. So they issue a premium payment certificate, which are also used in the regulatory documents, and it has to be put up when we are selling the goods from one country to another country at the time of pre-shipment of goods. Then what is ARE1 form? ARE1 form is, it is used for claiming the excise rebate, duty drawback from the government of India. That means that ARE1 form is essential, because in some countries where you are getting a rebate from the government, so you have to use this form claiming the excise rebate as well as duty drawback from the government of India, that whatever the duty you are going to pay, it is giving back to you by the government of India. Then the second point is ARE form is the different copies of ARE1 or AR4 forms should be of different color, indicating below that there are different colors of these forms. The original form is of white color, which is returned to the exporter by the respective authority. Then duplicate is buff color. This is also returned to the exporter. The triplicate copy is of pink color. This is for the rebate sanctioning authorities, that rebate sanctioning authorities can keep this triplicate color. Then quadruplicate color, this is in green, which is for the chief account officer at collectorate headquarters. That means where you are going to pay the money or receive the money, at that time you have to pay, you have to give this quadruplicate copy which is of green color. Then quantuplicate copy which is of blue color, and it is basically for the central excise officers who are really going for the central excise office copies. And sextuplicate, this is in yellow color, and this is the optional copy for the exporter. So quintuplet, as I said, that it is blue in color and it has to be handed over to the excise officers, because these are the different colors, and it is specified that you have to give only these copies to the respective offices. Then what is shipping bill? As I have told you, that most important document required by the custom authorities for allowing the export. It contains four details of good shipped. That means when we are shipping the goods, there are four documents which have to be taken into consideration. These are of four colors. White, export of duty free goods. That means it is made in three copies, and it is for the export of duty free goods. Then another one is green color. It is export under claim for duty drawback. Four copies we have to make, and we have to claim for the duty drawback from the government of India. If government of India is responsible for the export of the goods. Then yellow color copy is basically for the export for dutiable goods. That means the goods which we are selling and the duties are going to be paid on those goods. It is of yellow color, and in this we have to make three copies. Then there is a pink copy in the shipping bill. It is for the export of duty-free goods X bond. This is also made in three copies, and this is basically for the export of duty-free goods X bond. And there is another copy which is of blue color. Export under DEPB scheme. It is made seven copies. So we have to distribute these copies with the help of these different colors, and it is required when you are shipping your goods from one country to another country. And this is the most important part of that. Then what is the post trust copy of shipping bill or export application or doc challan? As I have mentioned you earlier also, that there is another point which is known as post trust copy of shipping bill, export application or doc challan. An exporter has to pay the port and dock charges. When the shipment is sent by sea, the amount is assessed on the basis of nature of goods, volume and the weight. At this point, when the exporter bring the goods at the dock, at that time, under the port trust office, exporter has to pay the port and the dock charges when the shipping is sent by the sea. The amount is only assessed on the basis of the nature of goods, volume of goods and the weight of goods. So on the basis of these, they are going to charge the exporter about the shipment is concerned. That means the nature of good means that which type of product is there which we are shipping. Then what is the volume of the goods and what is the weight of the good. On the basis of that, they usually charge the amount. Then what is vehicle ticket? It is an entry pass issued by the Ports Trust Authority to the shipper to allow the letter to bring export cargo to the port for their dispatch to the importer. As I have told you, it is a ticket which is given to the exporter to allow these exporter to bring their manufactured goods which they are planning to sell to the different country and planning to send the goods with the help of the shipment. So at that time, the vehicle ticket is issued, and that vehicle ticket is to be given to the port trust authorities so that they will allow the exporters to bring the goods up to the dock, and from there they will load the goods, first unload and then load the goods on the ships. So this is known as vehicle ticket. So there are 2 points which I have discussed here. One is the exporter has to pay the port and dock charges. Why they have to do this thing? In case if they are shipping the goods by sea, and the amount is only assessed with the help of the nature of the product, volume of the product, and the weight of the product. These are the three important points. Then vehicle ticket, it is issued by the port trust authorities, and it has to be showed to port trust authorities by the exporters, so that they are allowed to bring their manufactured goods up to the port trust, so that it can be shipped to the concerned countries. And these are also having some charges which exporter has to pay for it. Then declaration documents. What are the declaration documents? Number one is GR forms prescribed by the RBI under FEMA to ensure that forex receipts in respect of exports are repatriated to India. That means it is a form issued by the RBI under FEMA, that means foreign exchange, to ensure that forex receipts in respect of export, that means that whatever the export person is doing it, it has to be returned back to India, so that the government can find out that how much export they have done and how much foreign exchange they have received in totality. So this has to be in the GR forms, which is received by the RBI from, and the exporters are the people who have to collect these forms from the RBI. These forms are prepared in duplicate. Both copies submitted to the customs at port of shipment along with shipping bill. That means they are saying that these forms, that means GR forms, are made in duplicate copy, and both the form duly filled are hand over to the custom at the time of shipment of the goods along with the shipping bills. Then custom gives 10 number running serial number on both copies. That means the custom then give a serial number which is from 1 to 10, or maybe 10 number serial number on both the copies. Then custom returns duplicate copy and retain the original one. Then at that situation, what custom will do, they return back the duplicate copy to the exporter and keep original copy with them. Then exporter submit GR form and other document to his bank authorized dealer for collection of export bills within 25 days. That means that when duplicate copy of GR form is received by the exporter, it is the rule of the exporter, or it is the duty of the exporter to submit the GR form with other documents to his bank or the authorized dealer for collection of the export bill. That means the money which they are supposed to receive from the importer, while what they have sent it to them. So these are received by the exporter with the help of the bank or the authorized dealers, and it can be collected within the 21 days. That means within 21 days, all the export bills are going to be collected by the exporter when they are handing over the GR forms as well as the duplicate of GR forms along with the shipping bills. Then SDF forms, where shipping bills are processed electronically, SDF is used. They are saying that there are some areas where electronically they are shipping the shipping bills. In this, the SDF is used. This is submitted in duplicate. Customs give back one copy along with a copy of shipping bill marked and as exchange control copy. When you are submitting this duplicate copy to the custom authorities, at that time custom authorities give back one copy along with a copy of the shipping bill which is marked exchange control copy. Then it should be given to authorized dealer within 21 days. That means that they are saying that it is the duty of the custom office to see that these documents, that means the copy of the document along with the shipping bill, has to be given to the authorized dealer within 21 days of receiving the forms. Then what is PP form? This is to be completed in duplicate. Exports to all the countries are to be declared on PP form when goods are sent by post parcel. All such parcels are routed through the foreign post offices located in major cities. They are saying that these PP forms are used in the sending of goods abroad by post parcel. That means everything is declared in this PP form, which includes the name of the consignee, the name of the receiver, the address of consignee, the name of the receiver, phone numbers, etc. Amount of the goods which is available, which is there in the parcel, then which type of goods are there in the parcel, and these parcels are routed through the foreign post offices which are available in all the major cities. These forms cannot be handed over in normal post offices. There are specific central post offices who are using these type of services for sending the parcels to different countries, and these offices are known as foreign post offices. Postal articles intended for any permissible foreign destinations may be booked at any of the post offices in India. They are saying that in India, it is there that it can be put up in any permissible foreign destination, and it can be done with help of any post office in India. So in India there are some, chances where people can send their goods with the help of the postal parcel to any part of the permissible foreign destinations, and it can be booked from any one of the post offices in India. Then PP forms or no objection certificate from the Reserve Bank of India is required to be enclosed to the parcel depending upon the value of the goods being exported. Yes, this is important point. They are saying when we are sending the post parcel to foreign countries, so they are saying along with the PP forms duly filled, we have to get the no objection certificate from RBI, because it has to be enclosed with the parcel, because it depends upon the value of the goods being exported. Maybe the value of the goods are more than 1 lakh rupees or maybe 5 lakh rupees. So in that situation you have to take a form from RBI, and then you have to put up those forms along with the PP forms and attach with the post parcel so that it can be easily delivered to the concerned area. Then soft text forms. What is this soft text form? These are used in export of software otherwise than in physical form, that is magnetic tapes, disk, etc. These are the forms which are used when we are exporting any software which is in physical forms like magnetic tapes or disk, etc. Then we have to put up the valuation of the software export, that what are the value of the software export. Then disposable of softtext forms are in triplicate. We have to make 3 copies of this softtext forms which includes all the details related with the product is concerned as well as the valuation of the product is concerned, and it should be submitted not later than 30 days along with invoice to the valuation authority. That means they are saying if you are sending this thing, you have to submit these forms within 30 days along with the invoice which you made for the particular product to the valuation authority, so that they can cross check it and identify it, that which type of product you are selling and how much amount of the product is there in the particular documents. Then what are the other documents which are used when we are selling the goods in foreign countries? Freight payment certificate. It is like receipt for payment of freight. This is the certificate which is issued from the exporter side or maybe from the importer side also, and this is the freight payment certificate which says that we have paid the freight and we have paid the money for the distribution of goods from one place to another place. Then insurance premium payment certificate. It is like receipt of for payment of insurance premium. As I have told you this thing, when we are going for the insurance, they are going to give us a premium payment certificate, which is sort of receipts, and we have to hand over the receipts to the particular person in totality, so that the things will be in a proper manner and the documents are also attached with the goods which you are shipping from one country to another country. So you can very well understand that when we are going for any export or import business, it is very, very important to find out that how many documents we have to require and from where we have to take the permission. So in this particular uh, discussion, you must have observed that we have to take the permission from the RBI, that means Reserve Bank of India in India, or maybe in other country, their central banks are there from where you have to take the permission. Then apart from that, you have to take or deposit lot of forms to the custom officers. Then you have to deposit lot of forms and take some receipts from the Port Authority of India. Then you have to take challans from Port Authority of India. You have to take receipts for the insurance policy. You have to take freight payment certificate also. Then you have to take the made receipts also when the goods are on the board, that means shipment. Then you have to send the documents, shipping bills are there where you have to send those documents to the importer so that they are in a position to get their products with the help of the authorized banks or the authorized dealers. So it is very, very important, and there are some time periods also that within these time period you have to deposit those things. As we have discussed this thing that when we are exporting the goods, it is the duty of the importer to send the amount immediately, and it has to be received by the exporter within 20 to 21 days. This is one thing. Then, in case if we are sending some goods with the help of any other options, maybe post parcel or something, we have to take the permission from the RBI if the volume of the goods are much more higher and the value of the goods are higher. So we have to take permission from the uh, different agency, as I have discussed with you, and I'm quite sure that you are in a position to understand all those things effectively. Then mistakes what usually made by the exporters or importers while making the documentation, that there are some particulars which often incorrectly declared, that quantity versus units of quant- quantity. That means you should be very specific regarding the quantity that which you are going to ship and the units. Suppose you are selling 500 unit 500 pieces of something, then you have to separately give that what are the quantity in units also. Then you have to give the gross weight and the net weight. Then what are the total gross weight of that particular uh, consignment, and what are the basic net weight. Then invoice number, date, AR1 number in the invoice. Then port of destination and discharge. That means from which port it is going and it is receiving by the importers. Then description of the goods. You have to, after noting up the quantities, you have to give the descriptions of the goods also. Then currency, whether it is of Australian dollar or Australian rupee, you have to specify those things. Then CIF value or values are there, which when the goods are boarded on the ship, you have to give that value when the goods are opted out. That means these are the another thing which you have to talk out, that in which particular scheme you are opting out. So these are the general mistakes which happens when we are preparing the documentation. So that's why it is said that it is very, very important to see that who are going to make the document. So they are specific or specialized people who are doing this type of work, and they are working on this thing for the effective transportation of goods from one place to another place. Then what are the other documents which are required in trading internationally? Number one is black list certificates, weight note, languages certificates, certificate of chemical analysis, phytosanitary certificates, conditioning certificate, liquidity certificates, certificate of measurements, transshipment bills, and shipping order. So these are the things we have to identify how we are going to put up all these documents together. So if I'll give you one example, if there is an exporter and they want to ship a goods from one country to another country, at the point of dock, there are big agencies or the agents who are specializing in this particular documentation. Sometimes it happens big organizations, what they do, they put up their own offices at the dock area and they hire some people specialize in doing this. So this is one thing. Another thing in the exporter world, they take the help of the people who are specialized in and who are present at that particular area and offices. So there are two type of offices which are prevailing at the area of the docks where the ships are going to be shipped from one country to another country. But usually it is said that putting up a whole office along with the people is more expensive than hiring some people for doing the job is more economical. So usually the exporter, what they are just asking these people to do their work, complete the documentation and everything, and give the required copy to them so that they are in a position to hand over the things to the importers. So these are all documentations which we have discussed about uh, export import documentations are concerned, or you can say in the international international marketing, these are required, and it is essential for each and every person who are looking after the international trading. They should be aware about the documentations of all things which are required while you are sending the goods from one place to another. So on the basis of this, I have just put up some MC. Like you can say that internet contributes and increases the world population, inflation, economic trade barriers. I think this is very simple question which anybody can give the answer. Then ratio of trade to GDP was as high as what? Then free trade maximizes world output through countries reducing the various taxes imposed, countries specializing in production of goods, product competition between countries and other special regions, and the diluting the international business law and conducive in the country. Then next question says that domestic company limits its operations to dash political boundaries. Then trade between more than two countries is known as national business, external trade, international trade, or unilateral trade. So these are the questions which are quite simple. I am quite sure that you are in a position to give the answer for these questions. Then dash is refers to the tax imposed on imports. Imported tax, subsidies, import quotas. Then dash means selling the products at a price less than on ongoing price in the market. Quota, subsidy or dumping. Then dash is the oldest international trade theory. Country similarity theory, theory of absolute cost advantage, product life cycle theory, mercantilism. Then voluntary export restraint is the opposite form of what? Importers, international tariff subsidies or dumping. The last question which I have just given to you is the dash refers to the tax imposed on imports, imported tax, tariffs, subsidies or import quotas. So if you just recollect the things which we have discussed just now regarding the different documentations and other things that are concerned, you can easily give the answer for these questions because these questions are related with the documentations of a product which has to be shipped from one country to another country. And it is very, very important for the people to understand this thing that when you are shipping a product, you should be very, very careful about the documentation and you should be careful about the abbreviations and the things which are used in export and import businesses. So this is the all from my side, and I am quite sure that you are in a position to understand the topic very well. And whatever the questions I have given, you are in a position to give the answer for these questions also. So this is all from my side. Thank you very much for being with me.